You shouldn't say anything bad about money, even if you're joking, because they say the universe doesn't understand jokes, it just doesn't understand, and everything you say is a vibration. He works all the time, very hard. That's how you succeed here. And these days I tell you, honey, look at this book. It says you don't get rich with hard work. I say you get rich with purpose.
Let me say, when we began our spiritual journey, I was still working, and without changing anything, money suddenly started pouring in.
From everywhere. From everywhere.
From everywhere, yes.
In the hospital when I was working, what impressed me was that actually thoughts make people sick. Exactly those emotions that are unspoken. We accumulate them, we keep them inside ourselves.
That is, I believe that everything is achieved only with discipline, hard work, and determination. But actually, success came when we became spiritual.
You have to feel in advance the person you want to be. If I want to be rich, I have to feel in advance that I am rich.
Someone asked, how can I, when I've never been, to feel this way?
So what are you doing? Are you starting?
Actually, if you look back 304 or 500 years ago, at first we thought the Earth was flat, that the sun revolved around us. Always after 200 years, what we know now will be wrong.
They asked me, I think, how long it took me. So, for example, I say, let's say 2 or 3 years. Oh, 2 or 3 years, I can't waste my time like that. Wait a minute, what are 2 or 3 years compared to making your dreams come true?
Hello, friends. We're having a lot of fun, and I know what you see is a little different, but get used to the new. This year, as I was saying before with my wonderful guest, today for me it's the year of change and the year of masks off. But today we won't be talking only about that. Today we'll be talking about a lot of things applied in practice from a spiritual point of view and in general in the material world we're used to living in. How does this happen? How when you have nothing, you motivate yourself, you get inspired so that you can have, and you visualize it so much, you see it so clearly that at some point it just has to happen. And a lot of really interesting things. Before I introduce our guests today, I'll just tell you that we organized a wonderful event with Valia in London, and that's where we met them. They are Bulgarians, and once again I want to thank them for coming back then, because it meant a lot to us. That was the first event we organized abroad, and we had no idea what to expect or whether more than 5 or 10 people would even show up. They came, and the first thing that impressed me was that these are actually Svetleto and Des. Welcome.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you for responding and actually coming. The thing that impressed me the most was his smile, her confidence, and the way they talk to each other. Hello, why are you so smiley and how can you always be so smiley? The whole meeting, the whole day, you didn't stop smiling. It's contagious.
Yes, that's a very interesting question. Well, maybe at some point a person learns to produce dopamine on their own. Some people need alcohol, some need stronger things. But it happens that when you're satisfied with life and happy with everything around you, maybe that plays a big role.
Maybe you were just born like that.
First, we forgot to say hello, dear friends.
Hello?
I want to apologize first of all for the heavy Plovdiv accent. Even though we've been living abroad for a long time, we couldn't get rid of it, and we say a lot of I sounds. For people who are not from Plovdiv,
Yes, for people who are not from Plovdiv, but right now we are in Plovdiv, and sometimes people might catch me saying the I sound too, even though I lived in Sofia for a long time. Before we start, you've prepared a whole heavy walk and volume. Before you start reading it, please allow me. I just want to tell people that these are some exceptional people who really impressed me. And actually, Svetleto, before we started, asked me, why did you invite us? Tell me, why did you choose to invite us specifically? And it was exactly because of that. I was really impressed after the dinner you organized after the event by how openly you shared who you really are, what you've been through, and you talk about it with such confidence and insight and with a desire to help someone else just learn from it. So today we'll be on that wavelength, and I'll be grateful if you share as much as possible. Now tell me, what are you currently working on and what are you doing?
So right now my wife is reading books, enjoying life, doing philanthropy, taking care of the kids, and basically planning vacations, watching things. I have fun every day. I'm a co-founder of a fintech startup, meaning a software company in the financial sector. We can be anywhere we want, anytime, basically wherever we want, and we're together all day. And my work takes up very little time, and I can do it from anywhere in the world. And that was actually our dream. Our dream was for our children to study in private schools in London, and our eldest daughter went to Singapore, where she also attended maybe one of the best, most expensive private schools there. In other words, you can provide something for your parents and your children and enjoy life. In other words, to be the embodiment of that joy of the universe, which wants to express itself through human beings. If we look at it in a more spiritual way, where did we start from?
Yes.
Just ordinary people. We're talking about ourselves. I was a firefighter. She was a nurse. Our parents are also very ordinary people. We've never had any support behind us, whether it's from capital connections or anything else. My father, he was a driver. My mother first sold newspapers in Repung during communism. Then she was a shop assistant again, and your mother was a hairdresser.
My mother is a hairdresser, my father is an electrician. He means to say that, in terms of background, we come from ordinary working class families. That's what he wants to say. But I think it's best to say that when we decided to immigrate to England,
When did that happen? About how many years ago?
it's been 10 years, so since 2015, we decided to go to London, and we have 3 girls, so we left the kids behind and set off with the idea that we would bring them over in 3 months, thinking everything would be perfect. But then we got to England and realized things weren't as we had planned. The most interesting thing is, and I'll never forget this, when we were leaving, standing by the elevator with our suitcases, and I closed the door and left my 3 children behind in Bulgaria, and at that moment I just took a deep breath. And I just told myself, I said, I'm going on vacation. I really didn't want to imagine where I was going or what exactly awaited me. We both just set off with this positive attitude, even though we had heard many stories from our friends and acquaintances, different stories. Maybe that was one of the reasons why Desislav hesitated for so many years. I was always the one who initiated the idea of emigrating. I wanted a better future for my children. That has always been my main goal. My idea. Don't interrupt me.
Because all our lives, because of our love, we constantly complement each other and constantly interrupt each other.
Ah, that's right.
Yes, even... Yes, please.
So
The others should excuse us. We really are...
I even wrote a note to myself, don't interrupt Svetleto.
No, what I mean is, I want to say that you and I have always been positive. We've never...
A little above average, yes. Yes, above average, yes.
Even when we lived in Bulgaria, on 2 salaries, I will never forget how I think we were still, we were working, we didn't have kids. And I remember how we used to say, honey, now when we get our paychecks at the end of the month, we'll set aside 10 leva, we'll go to a pizzeria. So, we didn't have, a lot of people, will say, but you guys are lucky. Things just work out for you in life. I've heard that a lot, but I believe that when a person is kind to everyone, to others, I believe that this always comes back to you.
That's right. And I see he wants to say something too, I'm sure. But before that, I want to ask you, where does all this desire come from, this drive? Why did you want not to be on a salary, to leave it all, to look for a better future?
She's the brains, I'm the hands.
I've always, even as a child, always had this feeling inside that somewhere out there something much better is waiting for me. You know, somehow I've always looked beyond what's around me, and from a very early age. I mean, I've always been interested in topics like reincarnation, for example. I remember my aunt, she used to read these books that even today I tried, but I just couldn't look at them. By Liana Antonova, I think it was something again about encounters, about the afterlife, something like that. But those books were really interesting. I mean, it was because of my aunt. She used to read those kinds of books. My mom and dad weren't interested in such things. But yes, I mean, from a very early age, I found these things interesting. All right, good.
How does he prompt her?
All right, good. Come on, you say it. Maybe we got a little sidetracked.
So the opposite, I was really down to earth. For me, something had to be scientifically proven, so I wasn't spiritual at all.
Tell them how many higher education degrees you have.
I completed 4 master's degrees and a doctorate, so I believed that everything could be achieved only through discipline, hard work, and determination. But actually, success came when we became spiritual, meaning the hard work. Focusing spiritually on something brings it into existence. That this dream in the current reality, that thing was slipping away from me, and what made me a spiritual person. She started talking to me, and I began to look for, okay, let me see if there is any scientific evidence that at least slightly suggests it. And actually, there are quite a few studies that show, for example, how you can influence random generators with your thoughts. These are systems that generate random numbers, and you can influence them as well as a laser beam. So it's proven that you can deflect it with by how many microns up or down, even if this thing isn't in the next room, but for example, on another continent. And then when I saw scientifically that this phenomenon exists, that thoughts themselves are something that can influence the physical world. And when you start reading this kind of literature, you actually realize that you've been incredibly arrogant to think that everything has to be, that we understand everything. In reality, 300, 400 or 500 years ago, we first thought that the earth was flat, that the sun revolved around us. What we know now will be wrong in 200 years, so we must accept that. And that's why there are some books that give a more general idea, that put consciousness first, that is, before matter. Many scientists are looking in that direction now, which inspired me to start. In that direction, I applied all the discipline I had from this physical reality, and I applied it to the spiritual one. That is, constant affirmations that are written in the morning, a constant way of thinking. There wasn't anything I didn't apply. That is...
So you looked at what was written in the book, but did you have any doubts? Or was it more like, oh, now I'll try this until it works and keep it interesting for myself, 30 days, 40, 50, then move on to the next thing? Or did you somehow...
No, I didn't doubt it. I believed, but here's the idea. Apparently, in order to manifest, you have to be sure about it, meaning you have to believe that it works. And honestly, I asked myself, okay, what could actually be the downside? Meaning the negative and the positive. The negative thing, and we'll say exactly what we're applying, the only negative thing that can happen is that you get rid of stress and all kinds of bad thoughts. From illnesses, so basically that's the negative part. And the positive, the upside, what can happen is that all your dreams can come true. So in every situation, both the negative and the positive, you win, you just become a better person. This means a person has nothing to lose by trying. You can only gain, and from there, both of us started to apply it. And maybe, at least everywhere we've read, when 2 people do it, and a person can do it alone, but when 2 people are on the same wavelength, since everything in the universe is love, this multiplies the power of attraction and manifestation of all the things a person dreams of. So, harmony, love, and a shared focus are very important. At least for us, we've experienced this in practice. And we can go into more detail about how I mean someone,
Well, yes, maybe I can.
more practical things.
It's better for me to tell you because he is generally more positive by nature and somehow takes things more lightly. As a woman, I'm more emotional. I see things in a completely different way. In a way, I tended to look at things from the darker side.
Excuse me for interrupting your interesting show, but I'm very excited to share with you what we've been preparing for almost a year. Thank you to each and every one of you for your time, your energy, and for choosing to continue supporting and following everything we do. This journey is endless, and you are endless as well. Thank you for sharing a small part of infinity together with us.
I am a nurse by profession, and actually, when I arrived in England, I started working in oncology, meaning with palliative patients and chemotherapy. And actually, the time I spent in the hospital was definitely very hard, and I remember coming home and wanting to share it with him, but he wouldn't let me. At one point, he just forbade me, he said, let's not talk about it. Back then, we hadn't started reading those books yet. And actually, I can say the transformation came like this. One day I came home from work and just told him, I said, Milo, do you realize that our life is passing by spending time with strangers? I spend about 12 hours in the hospital with strangers, and you spend your time at the bank again with strangers. We wanted to spend more time together, more time with the kids, like on vacations. Because when the kids are on vacation, you have to work. You can't spend that time with them. And actually, that's where it all started. Maybe that's exactly my biggest wish, to be free to be together. That's our biggest dream. It really came true. Then I'll say the meaning, what I did. But I started reading, and the first book I read was by Nick Vujicic. He is an Australian who was born without legs and without arms. And I read the book because my middle daughter, she is less confident. And I was just looking for a way to help her be more confident. And I thought, if this man who was born in such a disadvantaged position is now married, I think at that time he had 3 or 4 children. He is rich, successful, and happy. He learned something. There's a secret, and I need to read it to find out. And from there, actually, as I started reading, he kept constantly mentioning the names Esther and Jerry Hicks Abraham. I don't remember if he talked about Seth Speaks, about Jane Roberts, but he kept mentioning Jane Roberts all the time. And actually, that's when I bought the books. And the first one I read was The Secret. So back then, even I was in Bulgaria, the movie The Secret and the book were really popular. I had read it, I liked the idea, and somehow it just crossed your mind. We didn't pay that much attention to it, I remember that. And when I started reading Abraham, Esther, and Jerry Hicks, that's when I started to look at things in a completely different way. Their first book is called Ask and It Is Given. It had a lot of explanations, for example, techniques on how to attract the things you want. Their next book was The Law of Attraction. They have a lot of them. I mean, these books literally just prepared the ground, and now... Because even in the books by Esther and Jerry, he is a big fan of Jane Roberts and Seth. And actually, I already started reading back then, right after that first book. Their first book is Seth Material, right? And then it's Seth Speaks and the others, right?
And actually, that was the thing that not only shook me, but it literally changed all of my views.
Why?
Well, because I even have it written on my wall. It's still stuck there. What stuck with me is exactly what you said. You create your own reality according to your beliefs and expectations. And I started thinking about this. I said to myself, if this is really possible, I mean, if what I believe in, when I believe that my life is hard, miserable, then that's exactly how it will turn out. I started to think about it. I said, if you think that life is good, I said, obviously, You know, nothing is stopping me from trying. You know, and actually that's exactly when Disislav was working hard. And I remember reading Seth's book. It was 10 o'clock in the evening. He was constantly working, you know, here, a lot of effort. That's how you succeed. And I'm sitting and reading and I say, honey, look at this book. It says that you don't become rich through backbreaking work. You become rich with your mind. And he said, yes. And
Miners would already be the wealthiest people.
he, you know, listens with one ear because he always asks if there is scientific evidence. And I tell him, if you want, look for scientific evidence. I believe it. What's stopping me from believing and trying it, right?
And he gets enthusiastic and
Yeah.
you started reading a lot.
I started reading. I remember the first books. There are probably at least 10 by Seth, but the first books are extremely impressive. From there, I started listening because after so many years, you know, I've read so many books that I'm not even sure what I read after that. But one of the main things that really influenced me, I can say, was Dr. Joe Dispenza. What he taught me is... Actually, he said it very nicely and it really stuck with me. He said, look, you program your own day. Even in the morning while you're brushing your teeth, you're already thinking ahead about the day, about what awaits you. For example, if you start your day thinking, I have to go to work, what a crappy job. This colleague will annoy me again. You end up programming your day that way. I believe you get what you expect.
Yes, I bring this down to earth because right now, until recently, we were in a vacation period. And for the first time, we allowed ourselves to rest a bit more. We were at a party and with Valia, we were inflating balloons. You know, we blew them up, hung them. Everything turned out just as we wanted. And after a while, when people started arriving, one of our close friends was sitting on the side. It got really windy. It's really windy. Look now. What's happening is that they start falling down one by one. It's really windy. Watch now and soon you'll start wiping. Because they're the ones with the pieces. Some of them, you know, to be an accent. Now watch how, and he says it 25 times, but now, since I think such times are coming, I'm learning to directly tell people, even if they're not involved in it, to stop talking about it because you're creating it. I tell him 3 times. But he switched to autopilot mode. He's practically not even thinking about it. Watch as the balloons fall. You'll have to gather them and it will get messy. After an hour, they start popping one by one.
How much energy he put in? Absolutely.
Yeah.
He sits and watches them. Well, okay, why do you want so much, for example, for certain balloons to pop? Because that's a metaphor. He doesn't really want the balloons to pop that much. Obviously, he's expressing something that comes out this way. It manifests itself this way. So that was a very recent example of what you're talking about.
People need to understand that thoughts must be responsible.
So not just thoughts, every word we say, it emits...
Never say things like, how stupid I am or how am I.
Not just the words, the thoughts too. We may have missed saying something very important to people. You know, I mean, what we believe. So we believe that we are much more than these bodies. And if you start to look at yourself, that actually... You are, for example, a spiritual being that has come down to earth, put on this suit, you know, to experience earthly life and learn something. You start to look at life in a completely different way.
Let me say, actually, one idea is to have fun. In other words, there's no point in taking ourselves too seriously. No one will leave here alive.
Yes, I agree.
So they have to be.
However, there are people who will now say, well, you have it easy because you live there in London.
It's very easy for you, yes.
It's easy for you since your parents raised you. You don't know, for instance, someone might say, for example, I'm an orphan raised in an orphanage.
I'll give an example.
Anyone can...
I'll give an example of many orphans who have achieved.
Yes, I agree. Even today, we were just discussing this with him. You know, whether people are born with a drive, you know, something that internally pushes them to do something with their lives. Because, for example, let's say there are people born under the same conditions. For instance, with divorced parents and a single mother raising them, one person might become persistent and move forward in life, while another in the same situation may always see themselves as a victim. But do you know, but I'm like this, but my mother is divorced, but we grew up in poverty. That's exactly what we were discussing today with him. Whether we are really born with some kind of energy that's... Because, for example, I am very different from my parents. I mean, my mother and father are much more modest, much, I would say, timid, insecure. For example, now,
Yes.
For example, my mother is a hairdresser. In those years when people started opening, for example, hairdressing businesses. And I asked her, Mom, you're a hairdresser. You could have opened, a salon, right?
You could have been your own boss.
No. Yes, my father is an electrician and a very good one. And I've asked him the same way. No, they just don't have that inside themselves. They're more, I don't know, maybe insecure. I don't know how to put it.
I want to add that for everyone, success doesn't necessarily mean strategy.
I agree.
Some people have...
For some people, success might mean living in a tent in the woods and eating wild strawberries, which is okay.
Yes, to connect with nature.
For some, success is owning 300 cars. For others, it means something different. Let's say to accumulate millions in wealth, or for someone else, success might be, love.
Like me, to marry such a great wife.
All right.
What does success mean for you, Svetla?
For me, success is probably connected to love, to family, yes. I've always wanted to have a big family, and love, yes, love comes first. And I would say that really where there is love, there is abundance, prosperity, there is everything. That's where things fall into place. And when you radiate this, it attracts exactly the same. I don't know how to exactly explain it, because I really want to say a lot of things, because...
Yeah, whatever comes to you.
No, my idea is that, so that maybe some of the viewers who aren't really on the same wavelength, can understand... Maybe we just need to start with, if you look at yourself, as energy, and actually every energy has a frequency, For example, let's say health vibrates, at a certain frequency. Love vibrates at another one, And actually, if you want to attract love into your life, you need to be on the same frequency. There's no way, for example, to say, oh, but all women are users. They're all gold diggers, There's no real love. It doesn't exist. You can't attract it because you're not on that vibration, Like, for example, Esther and Jerry say this very often, that you can't, they say, want to be, to listen to radio energy, but to be, on the frequency of Radio Veselina, It just can't happen. Or, for example, Dr. Wendar, very often, he has said it like this, that you can't have an apple tree and expect it to make orange juice. Here it is.
It just can't happen.
It's about vibrations, but maybe that's it. When I first read it, I sometimes wondered what they were trying to say before I'd read many books. Maybe with the years, this thing comes to truly understand what it means. But it's the same way if you want to attract money, friends, or if you want, a new job, because a lot of people complain, I don't like my job. Well, if that's the case, change it. For example, I didn't like spending 12 hours in the hospital, spending time with strangers. I wanted to spend my time with him. And what did I do? I listened.
And what did you do?
Yes.
Let me just jump in, if I may. What success means to me, let me say, on a more spiritual level, because now I'm about to start on another topic. If we start from the idea that we are all one, meaning we are all brothers and sisters, and we are all connected in the universe. And if we start from the idea that it's better for the universe to vibrate at a higher frequency. Success, if you manage to raise the vibration, which is the high vibration, is love, joy, let's say peace as well, meaning calmness too. If these are the top 3 vibrational feelings.
Gratitude is one of the highest.
Yes, gratitude too. So if through your actions you can make people happier, meaning to spread these positive things to your brothers and sisters. Whatever you want to do, but if you do it, you will actually raise the vibration of all of us.
You could say that's the success of raising the vibration of the planet.
Absolutely, because when Mr. Dragonchev, for example, feels pleasure and I feel it too on some metaphysical level, or I will feel it because everything happens now and is one.
Yes, exactly. And recently I'm reading a very small, nice book
Which one?
about Saint Germain. It's very small, like a master's. Something about the book of the great spiritual teachers. And right there, that's exactly what they were saying, that if a person manages, that means we all succeed. And I started thinking, what would happen to humanity if each one of us started to feel love and gratitude? How the vibration of the planet and all of us would rise. It's really beautiful if you think about it.
Very.
Yes, that's how I am. I've always wanted to. It's not that I don't want to help people now so everyone can be happy and prosperous. More and more I began to think, influenced by the books I read, that everything in this world is perfect and in its place. Because really, who are we to question the creation of the Creator, of the one who gave us life, the one who created us? And also a belief, which I can't say I ever truly believed, but maybe those wrong beliefs, that many people believe they came here to suffer, that God is punishing them.
They profess that.
Yes. I never believed that. I always believed the one who gave us life actually created us with a lot of love and gave us the best. I think about how I, want the best for my children,
And what is the best?
Well, I mean, to grow up happy, healthy, responsible, generous people, For me, that's what I want to teach, my children.
But isn't it free will to be whatever they want?
We all have free will, including our children. We've never imposed ourselves. For example, you could become a doctor, engineer, or programmer like your father. Or, for example, you have to play the violin now, which let's say we see, for example, in England. Especially, the Chinese, they have that. I mean, they absolutely, all Chinese children, if we see them at school, all of them play instruments, all of them do some kind of sport there. There isn't, with our children, this...
And how do you pass this on to your children? What you know, what you've done, how do you present it to them?
Well, we talk to them a lot, both of us maybe, and they also apply it.
For example, Ivy is about China.
So our older daughter, we were going to travel to China and she, was complaining, but I want to come with you too. I said, no, you're in school, you can't.
We told her to manifest it herself.
And we told her, well, you can do it, right, if you want it.
Go ahead, start meditating.
I said your techniques, right, how to visualize, right? I said meditate, visualize, I said...
And something will happen.
Manifest it yourself. And I don't know if it was a month or two, but it happened to her very quickly. At one point, she comes to me and says, yeah, you won't believe it, but she's super happy. I asked, what happened? Well, she says, some Chinese private school is coming and inviting 16 kids from our school for free, she says, at their expense.
They'll handle the visas and all else.
She says, we only have to pay, she says, for the plane ticket, she says, and the visa, she says, and...
They'll let us out of school.
About a week, right? What's interesting is she specifically wanted to go to Chengdu.
She called it the city of pandas and specifically wanted that city, Mom. Actually, it was Chengdu and Beijing. I mean, and it was so funny to me because she left before us. And she was literally maybe 1 or 2 weeks before us. She left for China, yes. But also the other one later, well, now it's a bit, how should I put it? The middle daughter's story is actually funny. For example, I had told them about that Hawaiian technique. Ho'oponopono. I don't know if it's very popular in Bulgaria. I mean, it uses 4 words. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. And thank you. I mean, if you have a difficult situation, for example, if it's an illness or anything else, you can use it. For example, my daughter comes in, and in the first period, the teacher tells them they're taking a test. In science, physics, and I don't even know what else. And she says, Mom, at first I panicked. She says, I didn't study. She says, he didn't warn us. I asked her what she did, and she said she kept repeating those 4 words to herself. And what? She says she saw the test answers right in front of her. Suddenly, she says, right in front of me on the desk, It was, she says, the answers to the test. I asked, what did you do? I copied. It might be funny, but look, I believe that the fact that she really tried to... She actually changed reality. People who believe in these things know what I'm talking about, because, for example, even with us, our life is literally... We changed reality. Because instead of working every day, right now, for example, we are free to spend our time together, to travel, to be with our children. The technique we applied is one of the things. For example, in the mornings before work, we close the door together. And we would say to each other, I would say, honey, have a nice shopping trip.
We decided to shift reality itself, meaning what we read.
That part where they were saying?
So no, you live the life you want. Basically, you project it in your mind and you're convinced that's how it is. And in order to keep yourself on that vibration, on that wave,
How do you do it?
through affirmations and communication. When we went to work in the morning, I'd say, well, have a nice shopping. And she'd reply, have a nice golf.
We just don't.
And this is constant, so you never go,
Why is that? What would you like to achieve?
You change your focus, which is actually very important.
to be free not to work, to...
No, my point about focus is that actually wherever you direct your attention, that's what you attract.
And for me to say,
And what did we want to attract?
The freedom to be together? Yes. And what about what we read? They say you must change your reality. How? Not by starting to play. They tell you if you want, for example, you have to feel in advance the person you want to be. For example, if I want to be rich, I have to feel in advance that I am rich.
And here comes someone who says, how can I, when I've never been,
Well, that's very interesting.
to feel this way?
So what are you doing? You start.
did they laugh at your work? Will you compare it to drawing blood?
I won't forget.
I'll say I'm a millionaire.
But no, I was so convinced. Honestly, I just won't forget. An old man. He was 90, an elderly Jewish man. I won't forget him, a sweetheart. And I'm taking his blood, but I don't remember what we started talking about, how we started talking, and I'm taking his blood. Maybe I told him I'd be rich and not have to work. I don't remember. Now he's just giggling at me saying, so what? Are you going to get rich by taking blood? That's exactly what he said, and I'm just sitting there thinking. I said, you can laugh at me, but you'll see, I said, where I end up.
There are always people who think along those lines.
But something very important that you did, in my opinion, is that this was like a very small test, so to speak. And you stood your ground. I mean, you didn't say, well, yeah, he's telling me this. Look how rich he is or was and how he's lived his life. Maybe nothing will really happen. You stood firm for what you wanted.
Yes.
And isn't it exactly in those little moments, the tests, where you meet someone and it's like, is it really you, right? Just stop for a second. Where are you? Who do you think you are? You just have to stand up for yourself and say what you want.
That's what brings someone close to you.
And the closest ones are those
They start to consider you as...
to make you doubt yourself. When we set off for England, people were like, are you crazy? With those 3 kids, where are you going? You know, what are you thinking? His father, until the very last moment, didn't believe we had bought the tickets, and we went to say goodbye to them. And he was like, where are you going? And I said, we're leaving for England. But how? He said, I thought, they didn't even believe it. Do you remember? I remember how your father...
There will always be people on the side who, not that they want to bring you down, for example, bring you down, but they're just on a different wavelength. And for them, that's reality, and you're in the wrong reality.
It's not just about wavelength. Everyone filters things through their own perspective.
Here's a tip. When you go to work each morning, just be yourself. That's how I felt. That you're going to your own company.
Yes, and I've applied that too.
Treat every colleague as if...
You walked in and said, this bank works for me.
I remember working at Morgan Stanley back then.
I'm not a worker, as you say.
I would walk in every time with an incredible smile. I can't believe what was there.
I remember walking into the hospital. It's all so easy now. I'm here.
But not with arrogance.
No.
Never, no way.
We've never had arrogance among us.
No, it's not just that. It can't be arrogant. The thing is, if you feel like you're the boss of the company you work for, maybe the culture here is a bit different, but honestly, you take care of every colleague. You look after them like they're your own child. So managers, let's say in England, in London, in companies, they take care of the employees as if they're children, because you always have the option to go to another company. It's a completely different shift because here we're used to it. Sometimes with shouting, let's say, or things like that. Not like that over there.
We forgot to mention, when we start doing these things, we started meditating first.
Yes, that's right. Meditation, visualization.
Meditation, visualization, affirmations.
Every day without skipping.
He definitely did it in the morning and evening. For example, I stopped, work. My focus was morning, noon, evening visualization. With affirmations, you literally live the life you want. For example, I wasn't going to work. For example, a friend calls me and asks where I am, and let's say I'm traveling on the subway to work, and I say, oh, where am I? I say, right now, I say, I'm on the Orient Express. I say, I'm traveling to Istanbul. I say, I want to drink coffee. I say, and eat baklava.
Really? But do you actually write that to her?
Yes, I write to her. Yes.
What does she say back to you? That's funny.
Nothing. But they, no, our friends, our closest ones, they knew that we, for example, the fact is, you feel great. Do you understand? You're playing some kind of game, but life itself is a game.
Yes, absolutely.
But we get so attached to this thing and take it so seriously that you just forget that it really is just a game. Why not play a game where I'm happy, successful, for example? I don't have any obligations, to live the way you want. Because, for example, it might be okay for someone else. If someone wants to spend 12 hours a day at work, if it brings them pleasure, that's okay.
I just want to say that realistically, whatever your current situation is, you've manifested it yourself, you've created it, you've brought it about. Exactly, you've brought it about yourself. And realistically, he is the creator of absolutely everything. And instead of creating the current situation, if by chance you don't like it, if you do like it, keep going the same way. Just change it. The simplest method is practical and can be done nightly before bed. For example, think to yourself, hey, those 100,000 leva that came to me,
how am I going to spend them?
What should I buy? Or why was it me who happened to win the lottery? I can't understand.
No, you can, realistically speaking.
You can experience it all. Thoughts are free.
Absolutely. And many times I've thought to myself, well, why not dream about nice things instead of first thinking, no.
What happened?
Fears,
On the news, just to mention the news and stuff.
Yeah, we don't watch.
So we turned off
I think that's very important.
television, absolutely. So at home on the television, we have YouTube running. There's a channel called Billionaire Lifestyle, meaning the billionaire life. Only yachts, private jets, trips. So it's just that kind of energy.
Of prosperity.
We don't use social networks only for prosperity.
The children don't watch the news or television at home. Instead, they watch their own content on YouTube.
We stopped using social networks altogether.
15 years, so we were still in Bulgaria when we stopped watching the news. There aren't any. We used to watch them back in the day,
I used to watch them 3 times.
On every channel, whatever I could watch.
Nova Television, BTV First program.
And actually, I remember because I worked here in psychiatry, and I'll never forget, one day I watched how the patients were watching the news and they became much more anxious just from that. And it made an impression on me then. Look how these people who were calm before, suddenly now all of them are.
Actually, the news...
I said, let's stop watching the news. It's negative energy.
They don't show everything. The bad parts are just a small fraction.
What were Chinese news like when we were in China?
There wasn't a single negative news story.
There aren't any.
Oh, there was one, but it wasn't negative.
Someone was punished for stealing.
No, not stealing, but someone was making herbal teas like green tea that help people and selling them. Apparently it's illegal, some family recipe from his grandmother, but is it really like murder? Yet it's also much more
For example, this year at the gathering, many friends are asking, hey, what's happening in London?
Yeah.
And I listen to them and I say to them, I don't know. I say, we live.
For us, London is the most peaceful place.
When we live in a different reality, I'm okay. We live in peace and freedom.
On the outskirts, amid greenery.
It's possible.
There are no drugs at the school, nothing like that. It's like being in the woods too.
And I remember back in the day when we arrived in London, they told us, oh, be careful here, don't hang out with Bulgarians. And I was like, why? Why shouldn't we hang out with Bulgarians?
All the Bulgarians we've met are wonderful people.
We've always, not just sometimes, but always, even if I just hear someone speaking Bulgarian a few times, it always feels so nice. And I just go, hey, hello, how are you? I've always started a conversation with them.
Yes.
Well, yes.
It was a real pleasure for me.
Maybe whatever you expect is what will happen to you. If you expect bad people, that's who you'll get.
Last night, my niece asked me a question.
What?
If something bad happens to me, does that mean I attracted it? I said, well, according to spiritual laws, that's generally how it is. But that's exactly what I told her. If something really tragic has happened, I said, those are like wake-up signals for the soul itself to awaken. Because someone says, but I didn't create this for someone to steal from me here.
Yes, because
Subscribe. Everything happens for a reason. So you really, in advance, in a way...
you're betting.
Yes, that's exactly right. I want to say this to some people who really have, really hard lives, really tough destinies. But the idea is that inside yourself, you have the strength to, how should I say, to change it and to overcome it. If you want, you can sit and feel sorry for yourself.
If it happened to you, it means you have the strength to get through it.
And the choice, everything is inside us, both the strength and the solution to absolutely everything.
You can read a book or go to some spiritual retreat, but the problem is that it might be like a bucket. For example, if you are the bucket and you fill yourself with spirituality, its level constantly drops because you are surrounded by friends, by reality, and you actually have to keep pouring in a little bit all the time. Affirmations, yes, yes.
Visualization.
For example, when someone honks because you didn't move immediately at the green light, just see your brother or sister in them who's rushing from work or hurrying for something, and instead of flipping them off
And cursing at them.
or cursing at them in your head, send them love or a kiss, or at least smile at them. Smile, or, for example, when you go to a restaurant and the waiter treats you badly, give him a double tip.
Yes,
This is a little friend.
I can tell you such a story. We were recently in Sofia. Something about, we had an appointment and we parked on the yellow cobblestones in the zone. However, in Sofia, the code and the zone for Plovdiv differ by 1 or 2 numbers. It's very close. The numbers are almost the same.
Yes.
And we lock the car, hurry to wherever we have to go. And I say, I always pay attention to these things. And I say, text Valia now so we can relax and all will be fine. Did you send it? I did. She sent it for Plovdiv, but neither of us realized and just kept going. We come back. The car has a clamp. I say, okay, man, you saw it. I lived in Sofia for 6 years. This place feels like home. What happened? Valia, open up. We're heading to Plovdiv. Okay, people are coming. And I don't think about it the way you just said. It just comes to me in the moment. He comes in out of anger because I forgot and messed up the code. He tells me, for example, 30 leva. I give him a full 40 and tell him to keep the change. The man was in shock because he came to find me. They already pull out a receipt for you and so on. No, why? Thanks, but he fined me anyway. He fined me again next time. Thanks. I only truly understood what you did when I experienced it myself. This way you demonstrate that you actually live in prosperity. You have much more.
Yes.
Everything is fine. Doesn't affect you. You can have 51 leva and give 50. This is the tricky part here, which I often talk about, and I tell this story and others to many people. Naturally, not excessively, but give a bit more, 50 stotinki or 1 lev more. What could happen? Tomorrow you'll have forgotten about it, but the effort you made now will remain. If you're with some people, stay 1 hour longer. I think this matters a lot in the long run when you meet those people again, when you see people again, when it happens again in a new way and you communicate with each other. And that's very valuable because I think it doesn't cost you anything to
give.
Absolutely.
To give more, though, more means something different to everyone. When they listen to him, not everyone has those opportunities. Give 20 stotinki more.
And you have to understand that you are giving to yourself, to your brother, to your sister, and to yourself.
And to yourself.
Some time ago, I read a book by a woman named Katrin Bondar, exactly about the laws of prosperity. And one of the laws was tithing, meaning to give 10% of your income. However, for example, there were questions, that some people might not have the opportunity to give financially. And that's exactly what she said, that actually saying a kind word to someone, that still counts as tithing. I may not have money, but I can say thanks for the great service. You were very kind, very polite.
Can you imagine how many people in general have limited themselves to thinking that giving is only about money?
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, everyone wants to express, their gratitude with money, but actually in the end, a smile, a kind word is also...
The reason to show up somewhere and surprise someone a little earlier,
The easiest thing, man, if you think about the happiest moments in your life, they're definitely connected, or at least not all of them, with suddenly getting money.
What's been your happiest moment in life?
My wife and my children. I can say that this is absolutely the happiest moment. And maybe after that, this realization, the spiritual realization, that is seeing that everything is one, even though I haven't reached that enlightenment state that some people reach through meditation, but realizing that everything is just a theater and we are actually playing roles here.
Yes.
And we are all brothers and sisters. And when you see someone who is angry or something like that, don't be mad at them. Your brother is playing roles.
Sometimes I write to my children. They come back from school and the teacher was rude to me too. That's what happened. And I tell them, look, now try to see it differently. You don't know this person, what might have happened to him in the morning before coming to work.
You don't know the whole story.
Yes, you don't know. He's grumpy, right? Because grumpy, I don't know how.
Sour.
Yes, sour. Because I say maybe at home, maybe his kids aren't well, maybe his wife isn't well, maybe there's some kind of problem. That's why he's acting this way. They instantly say, oh, he's like that. He doesn't like me. I always tell the kids to look at things differently. Even sometimes if someone literally cuts you off with their car, they're in a hurry to go somewhere. You don't know what happened to them. They could be rushing to the hospital. But we're like, oh, he just cut me off right here, I mean...
Yeah, I want to say something. All of this and a lot of those negative emotions that a person feels come from wrong expectations.
What do you mean?
We expect reality or a person to behave in a certain way because we see that this is, let's say, the right way, and we think that this is correct. In other words, there are no expectations about how someone should behave, what the situation should be, or who should govern in Bulgaria. Things are the way they are, and they are perfect just as they are. Just don't have false expectations. And by piling up these false expectations, it starts because we start to have an internal contradiction with the reality that we think is right, which is simply our vision of what is right, not the truth.
And are we creating another additional reality just with our ideas about what we should think it is? So are we creating reality with our expectations and at the same time reality with our actions? And can they collide?
Well, the way I see things, we all live within a certain framework. We have points of contact, but each of us lives absolutely in his own reality. Even notice the person walking down the street, lost in his own thoughts, for example. He might have completely different views, whether religious, political, or about absolutely anything. And his reality, he can't be convinced otherwise. Yes, otherwise, into your reality. So which reality is correct? His, yours, or a third one? That's why, and what we can really do is to shape our reality with our behavior the way we like it, and the way that which will work best for us or bring us the most joy as we see it.
Seth's book said the same thing. I won't forget it. Seth used to say every morning when you wake up, it's a window to a new reality. In short, at each moment we can choose to change reality, or let's just say life, for example, if at the moment I'm not feeling well. It's your responsibility to change things, not someone else's. We often expect others to save or help us. No, everything is inside us. I don't know, maybe I was just born that way inside. For example, ever since I was little, I never thought that if something bad happened to me or something I didn't like, it was because, for example, my mom or dad are to blame, or the neighbor, or God has punished me. No, I've always known deep down that whatever happens to me is because of me, and I know that I can change it. But that's just how I came into this world. Because, like I said, there weren't people around me to show me, for example. Some people, especially early on, never meet anyone more spiritually elevated.
Yes, that's how it was.
As far as I'm concerned, no one has ever talked to me about such things, about reincarnation. I remember thinking from a young age, I didn't see the point of coming here to live. Just one life there and then, for example, to die and disappear.
It doesn't make sense.
Somehow I've never really accepted that. I could never feel it that way. I've always known there's something much, much, much more. You just feel it, that's all. Decito can't feel it. His intuition is weaker.
Because I'm connected to you, I feel through you.
I also want to ask you a lot of things, but what do you think about this idea? Subscribe. For me, that's my reality in Bulgaria right now. I meet a lot of people who isolate the spiritual, the soulful from the other life, as they call it. And I thought that one of the other reasons why I'm very happy you came to visit and why I wanted to invite you was exactly this. Because for me, you are proof of balance, of how to move from one thing to another, how you can read Seth, but at the same time, to allow yourself the car you want, or the vacation you want, or whatever you want at all. That's hard for many to grasp, as you mentioned earlier. I haven't reached that level of enlightenment. Some meditate, but still. Are you sure that such a level exists? Because lately I've been asking myself this question a lot. There's a brilliant man named Alan Watts. I encourage you to take some time to read and listen to him. He has recordings that are now being uploaded to YouTube. One of his books is called Become What You Are. By that logic, how can it be possible? He says this. How can you go somewhere and return? We're speaking globally from a unity perspective. You are where and what you are as you are. This is already the perfect moment, frame, life, person, and energy that you are. I don't even have the words to say it. And if we look at it this way, I actually think that you are in a very good place and meaning, even because I've had such thoughts before myself. It's almost like those who meditate for 20 years, they see much more, but they might see much more. But they don't see what you see. They don't see your more.
Do you understand what my point is? And then how can it be comparable? By what do we measure it?
These are a lot of things I've been thinking about lately. I might be wrong about some things. The point is I'm curious what you think. Sorry, I just remembered about... Just like we really have people among our members, people who are still very divided. We discussed this at the events too, if you remember, right? When we get on the same wavelength and discuss Jerry Esther Higgs, Abraham, Seth, everyone is cheerful, talking about manifesting reality and laws. The moment you start giving an example that is actually the practical proof and explanation of how you've used this energy in the real world, immediately comes the label. They are materialistic. They only think about money, fame, recognition, popularity. Well, we keep shifting from one to the other.
Now, specifically about the difference between spiritual and material. The problem, apparently, whether it's from religion or some beliefs, is that if you're wealthy, especially in earlier years in Bulgaria, not now, you were usually seen as a bad person if you got rich in the wrong way. And if deep down you believe that you're a good person, there's no way you can become rich. That's a subconscious contradiction. I'm not bad, so I can't become rich. And that's one of the obstacles. And the other thing is that people who are spiritual, okay, on the most spiritual level, if I imagine that we are all vibration, and the most positive vibration is joy, that is happiness.
Happiness, yes.
Happiness, love, and peace. What does that mean? Will this financial energy give you joy, peace, happiness, and everything? In other words, the universe itself wants you to express yourself as something that brings you the greatest joy. If we are in Bulgaria and, for example, we need financial resources, this is the best thing for you. When someone becomes rich, it makes me happy because it raises the universe's vibration. The two things can coexist, and there are people who, let's say, prefer just to reflect. Material things don't interest him. That is, whether he's in a one-bedroom apartment somewhere or in a house with a pool. For him, that doesn't matter. He needs to develop in the direction that makes him happy.
Everyone has come with their own desires.
What you feel, yes. It really pokes you.
Yes, at one point I really did have such a clash that there was exactly a clash between the spiritual and the material for me. It started to intrigue me. But later, when I read the book Anna, the grandmother of Jesus, and in it her son, he was very, very, very rich, and actually he had provided ships there. They had also made something like an orphanage. I mean, they helped poor people, a clinic.
That's exactly what I was telling myself.
See, he was a great spiritual teacher, an adept, and at the same time, he was wealthy. And if he hadn't had that wealth, he wouldn't have been able to help people who didn't have anything, like the poor, or to build a clinic, for example.
No, I meant something else, that in a way, the people who read and watched such materials, in a way, I've really noticed how they hide it from their normal lives on a large scale. I mean, for example, at work, they're just themselves. It's like they switch to autopilot, and in the hours and days they manage to steal for themselves, they start consuming content. They watch Choco, they watch a few other channels, and they read a lot of books. And then they go back to that, and later when they go to, let's say, some event, there's this complaint that nothing from our practice works out for them in practice, and they ask for a new trick, give me a new opportunity.
Immersion is required. It's written everywhere in the literature. The application should be the stronger the intensity, the faster the manifestation happens. So realistically, a person needs to be extremely disciplined and in order to shift this thing. If someone thinks they can just visualize something and it will suddenly appear, energy needs to be put into it. You need to put in energy, or else, in normal reality, we unintentionally add negative energy.
For many people, a request or a prayer is, for example, to sit down and pray and ask for something, but actually, first you want because you don't have it, right? For example, you say, let's say, Lord, give me, for example, health. I'm sick, but you believe you're in that energy. And actually, that's exactly what he was telling, that he had gone to America, I think to the Native Americans, and they told him, come on now, let's pray for rain. There was some drought, I think that was the story. And actually what impressed him was that the shaman there, or whatever he was, the chief, told him, now close your eyes and imagine how it will be. I mean, to feel the rain. And actually, he doesn't pray, give me rain, because we don't have it, but they visualize the rain and ask for it. Because as it says, whatever you ask for in prayer, right? And now you say it, it will be given to you.
Even in the Bible, just to say we're not super religious, but I'll just say,
we believe in
kind people can pause, for example, whenever and check Mark 11:23 and Mark 11:24. What does Jesus say? What you say and believe has happened, it will happen. If you tell the mountain to move and truly believe, it will happen. So this is in...
And that's how it was for us. Total faith, I'm where I want to be.
Share your experience with hospital sandwiches and how you used to eat them in the bathroom.
Well, yes, that's just how it was.
And what was your name again?
Which sandwiches?
I mean, I had so much work that I didn't have time to... It was really, really busy. And I made myself sandwiches so I could hide in the bathroom to eat because there was no time, otherwise you just faint. I go to the bathroom with my sandwich thinking, I'm eating here now, but tomorrow I'll dine at the world's most expensive restaurants. And that's what I told myself, and that's what happened.
and you visualize it.
For example, I have a picture of you in Shanghai at top restaurants looking at the city's pearl. You're at top restaurants and everything, not that, how can I say this? Look, this has actually happened, right?
That's a very powerful message.
So the side business, let me say, I keep working. When we began truly experiencing these things spiritually without changing anything, money suddenly poured in. Simply, literally,
From everywhere.
from everywhere, yes. I had a meditation that I still do every morning. And in it, it says you wake up, you see yourself, you smile because you see how much money has come into your account overnight. And this thing literally started happening all the time. Without any change on a physical level, everything was on a spiritual level. And every single thing that we had set as a goal and told ourselves, okay, now we will focus on this.
At the same time?
We used to go then, since we have 3 daughters, private schools in London are expensive. I mean, regardless. I'm an information technology specialist with a good salary, and she also earns well, but you don't.
Still, it wasn't enough for private school.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, we even went to a private. When we got it, we went to the private school, imagined how we dropped the kids off saying,
Yeah, I mean, I told him,
we're taking them.
and I went online, found a school, and told the kids they'd study there. I said, get in the car, let's go see what the school looks like.
To imagine every morning how we take them there, how we drop them off.
Well, I don't know what you were imagining, I know.
Tell me, what were you imagining?
Well, for example, I imagine how I drive the kids to school in the morning. And they say you have to imagine it in such detail. And not only imagine it, you have to feel it, but feel it so much that you literally start crying. For example, when I have visualized things I wanted, literally during the visualization, tears run down my face from the feeling of happiness that it's already mine. And actually, maybe I should have. Let's say that one of the main techniques, actually, because we literally combine the techniques, for example, from Esther and Jerry Hicks or Neville Goddard, who unfortunately hasn't been published in Bulgarian. Maybe you can find something to listen to from him, but I think that exactly Neville Goddard's technique, who said that the last 10 minutes before you fall asleep are very important for what you think about, and that you shouldn't fall asleep at night with negative thoughts in your head. For example, instead of replaying what Sika said or who offended you, try to fall asleep thinking of something positive. And the other thing is, why not fall asleep, for example, imagining your life the way you want it to be?
What's stopping you?
To feel, well, personally, nothing stops me. I really like it. On the contrary, I've always told myself, why should I create these negative little movies in my head instead of creating something positive, to enjoy myself? You feel so much happier. And also meditation, just like he said earlier, your energy rises so much that you vibrate with such energy and frequency. You literally feel like you're flying.
Yes.
And that's it. You are in such peace and you radiate only love and you feel it and you send it to everyone. And literally, as you walk, you see these people several times and you feel like you want to kiss them. That's how much love you feel for everyone. And actually, that's exactly what attracts love, gratitude, because we give thanks every day. And the children are taught, when I take them to school, I tell them, I want you to tell me 10 things that you are grateful for today, absolutely. And 10 things like for example, I am smart, I am beautiful, or I am healthy, or, things like that, because it's like a program in the brain, because they say that actually until the age of 7, children are really being programmed. And it's very important what we say to them.
What I was taught when I was a child is the belief that with hard work, anything can be achieved, no matter what it is. And that leads you to such an extent that when we went to London, I remember they called me from the first job I started at a hedge fund. They called me and were looking for this and that, looking for the best specialist in this field in London. I was so confident. I said, hey, my friend, how did you find him? I said, exactly, right away. And he burst out laughing. Man, they are recruiters who are looking for people, but That confidence and conviction that you are, and that you can do anything, even though suddenly you go to a place where, first of all, they had special network protocols, microwave technologies that we never had here, ways of programming, but you believe and you go there as the best. I saw jobs for £40,000 a year, let's say in the information technology sector and such, and you could see 2,000 or 3,000 applications on the platform, meaning they've sent in their CVs. Look, in the financial sector, the same qualities are required, double, triple the salary. 2, 3 CVs somewhere, and you say to yourself, wait a minute, first, by the law of probability, I'll apply there. Why should I apply for a double, triple, lower salary and all that? Because you believe in yourself. It's that belief that matters. And you can imagine that coming here, I completely...
Belief and self-esteem.
That I have worked.
And I deserve more.
Yes, and self-esteem. That's why this should be instilled in children as well. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is a top visualizer and tells himself for every... And he's a very successful person in 4 areas. In business, in movies, in bodybuilding, and in politics. And he says for every success, first visualize your muscle, for example, if you want. Visualize how your muscles are growing. Imagine being that politician. Back then, everyone told him, even in movies, he wasn't good enough. Or how in politics you think you'll instantly become that. But now you'll see him and he visualizes, whether it's on a spiritual level or he realized that visualization works. So whether you explain exactly how the whole works or not, or you just take it and dig, it works.
It works.
I think it's really good for a person to be more flexible and to challenge themselves to break out of their beliefs. Because all of us, when we were growing up as kids, each of us has heard things like, well, money doesn't grow on trees. And actually, realistically, if you really accept this role, that money is never enough, that everything is insufficient. And you start living exactly in that reality, in one of limitations. The idea I want to say is that you have to dream, you have to allow yourself.
Allow yourself to dream?
Yes. And actually, let's say, in my opinion, a lot of people maybe only get so far because they can't feel it and believe that they can be, for example, what they want or have what they want, or maybe deep down in a way they feel like they don't deserve it. At least that's how it seems to me, from talking to some people, and you can feel it. When I worked at the hospital, what really struck me, even for myself, this is my own belief, is that actually thoughts make people sick. We keep unspoken emotions inside ourselves and let them build up, yes. For example, imagine a young man working in his father's business, an accounting firm or something similar, but he wasn't satisfied and he was doing it only because it was imposed on him. That's what I remember. For example, let's say young boys, I remember after divorces, where you feel a lot of anger, rage, fury, that hatred that also manifests, I remember, as an illness. Women, for example, had it the same way after divorces. Like some kind of, suppressed negative energy. I want to tell people that, hey, just let it go. What happened in the past, that's not who you are. You are so much more. And the moment you forgive, forget, and move on, life will definitely start to unfold in a completely different way.
In a different way.
Joe Dispenza, he has a center, right? They study, for example, brain waves. And I don't really know what this coherence between the heart and the brain is. And actually what turns out is that you right now, if I start, for example, to visualize myself eating ice cream and it's delicious, my brain will start to secrete absolutely all the substances, hormones that will completely imitate the very thing that makes me feel the pleasure of eating ice cream. But if, for example, you start to imagine some negative scenes, accordingly, it will start to release stress hormones and your body will. And what happens then? If you wake up in the morning and think about something from the past, then you live in constant stress. Not to mention, that actually what I think is what I attract. You know, but a lot of people don't try it.
In the morning, while you're brushing your teeth, just think about how you're going to spend that lottery money.
In the morning when I
All that money I won,
my teeth now, right? At this moment, I started, for example, I was really listening to affirmations. There was this American guy, and for example, he repeats to you, maybe there's some kind of,
Some really basic ones.
really simple ones, but you start listening, and the moment he says it to me, for example, I am healthy, and I repeat it, I automatically visualize myself as healthy, for example, that I am happy, So,
How do you listen to them in English again?
well, when I started, there weren't any in Bulgarian. So, for example, this was back in 2019, I remember, because I was really impressed by an American. Justin Perry is his name. He has a really nice book. I think it was called If I Knew This 20 years ago. It's not in Bulgarian, it's in English, but I love watching, listening to, and reading stories of people who, as you say, they have read it and they have applied it. Justin is one of those people. So right now he has one of the biggest spiritual channels like that. It's called You Are Creator. And back then, what really impressed me was that he said he sleeps every night with headphones in his ears, listening to affirmations, and that it took him 8 years to become a millionaire. They were extremely poor. And I thought, wow, if he made it, then I can do it too. I got really inspired. If he can do it, so can I. From there, I began in 2019. I started with headphones, with music, with edge frequency, and to this day, I still sleep with headphones on my ears. And for example, affirmations. For instance, if you want, you can listen for health, you can listen for abundance, prosperity, everything. So that was one of the things that, I do. In the morning, I absolutely wouldn't leave for work unless I visualized. After that, I had lunch very quickly. Literally, if I have time, I absolutely visualize again. And at night before I fall asleep, I always do it too. And maybe things happened very quickly because
2019 wasn't that long ago.
2019, actually, in 2020, we expect people to think that everything will just happen all at once. I'm actually one of the more impatient ones, and I want everything to happen really quickly. But now, looking back from 2019 to 2020, I remember that I had actually written down, for example, on a piece of paper, how much money I wanted to make per day. And I had put it in my wallet. And actually, in 2020, it just happened that completely by chance, someone called me and offered me exactly the same amount or even more money.
and let's say this was an amount that is
Much, much higher. Actually, to this day in my field, because I do chemotherapy at people's homes, maybe you can count on one hand. I don't know. I haven't heard of anyone taking that much.
It's a lot, yes. Sorry to interrupt you, but what you mentioned, you have literally worked at the complete opposite end, and now you live and have been among such people. And from there, you managed to transform that into the life you live now. For example, you haven't been at the grocery store checkout, right? You've seen people who are literally forced every day to make a decision that isn't an easy one, or a daily series of decisions, whether to continue, stop, about families or loved ones who always seem sad. How did you handle that? How did you see that every day? Then go somewhere like the bathroom and say, I'm in the Bahamas, taking it all in, and life is wonderful. That's really powerful.
maybe with some help from others.
He helped me a lot, as I was really affected because I want to help everyone.
Because you can't tell me that you haven't felt bad for this person or that person.
No, there's no way. Especially you. There are people you get close to, they really become your friends and you want to help.
The mutual support, that's what I'm saying. When two people are together, the energy is much stronger, because when you're alone, it's harder, especially if your partner doesn't believe, because that's the person you spend the most time with. When there are two of you, that's really your universe, as they say, and you support each other.
And I surrounded myself, let's say if on my work computer, the wallpaper, let's say some picture I really love the sea, maybe from the Maldives or the Bahamas. I mean, my focus has always been on the good things in life. I've always told myself, well, I'm here for a short time. I never thought I would be in this place. I even have colleagues that I still keep in touch with today, and they tell me, we knew you wouldn't stay here.
What does the list say? I'm a millionaire and
Yes. So every morning, the moment I take my list, simply because the two of us were focused on wanting to be free and to spend our time together. And I go and every morning I write on my list, I am a millionaire, and even the healthcare assistant had noticed it. And some mornings she would just hand it to me, written, Svetlana the millionaire. Yes, it was just like that.
I remember when I was leaving Morgan Stanley, everyone came to shake my hand because I said, I'm leaving for my own business. And they all came and shook my hand. They said, Des, we knew you would succeed. Des, everyone was telling me. They said, I knew you were the one that you are. They just feel the energy and that's it.
People always feel the energy.
It's not about being better than others, but that energy shows you're on the right path and everything is internal.
There's a story, yes, absolutely. There's a story about Jim Carrey. I've told it a long time ago. Jim Carrey did the same thing. They also had no opportunities. He wrote himself a check for $10 million, signed it himself, saying he accepts it or something like that. And actually, he did this for himself and was convinced it would happen.
Absolutely.
He applies it in his own way. So when someone starts saying, give me an example or something like that, there are examples from people like my wonderful guests today whom you're seeing for the first time, to those known worldwide. And they're famous worldwide, yet this part is ignored.
Absolutely.
Because anyone can mention The Mask with Jim Carrey, or you can say Dumb and Dumber, or all his roles where he acts funny, but when you really see the depth of the man, it definitely hasn't been easy for you. For sure, no matter how much you're smiling right now, you must have felt at times how it gets heavy, or you just want things to happen already. You want to see what you've been imagining. I believe that deserves respect and is important. Thank you for sharing so openly from the heart. I'm really grateful to you.
I really think that this also helps self-esteem for yourself. I deserve it. This is also an affirmation which, for example, let's say, I repeat it to myself because, for example, many people, including myself, think about it. You say to yourself, but who am I to deserve it? No, we all deserve it.
And another thing I just want to say, surround yourself with the right things that work for you. Because, for example, before in the Maldives for 6 months, just to say this, she puts the wallpaper on her phone.
I buy a new phone, my old phone, I just put
The wallpaper of the Maldives, of the little house, there are thousands on the internet. And after 6 months, we go without even looking. We end up in the exact same villa. And you look at the picture and you can't believe it. That's why be careful with what you surround yourself with. Your thoughts are...
It's important that the other thing, something else, it's also very important who you spend time with, right? If, for example, you spend time with people who constantly complain, who are always negative, well, that affects your energy. For example, with my family, I just told them, I literally forbade them. I said at home, I don't want anything negative to be talked about, nothing bad, no news to be watched. And I really think that this changes the environment for everyone. I mean, and for the kids too, for themselves.
And high vibration attracts, the higher it is. So if you're going to talk about someone, only talk about the good things. So there shouldn't be, for example, if someone uses Facebook.
And for example, to gossip, now we can discuss some situations, right? Like an event, right? But not something, like to be spiteful or to insult.
This is something very...
We don't have that among us.
No, you can't achieve anything with that vibration, at a high vibration.
They even say, for example, if you want to attract wealth, that you shouldn't say anything negative about money. Words like, I don't have, that's expensive, or the rich are some kind of villains. Nothing bad should be said about money. They even say not to joke about it, because the universe, they say, doesn't understand jokes, it just doesn't get it. And everything you say is a vibration, it emits energy, and the more you repeat it, if you say it once, okay, but if you repeat it 100 times daily, there's no way, to attract the things you want.
What do you think, if we look at it on a more global scale, what's happening on Earth right now? What stage do you think we're in? A lot of people are waking up. They feel that something isn't right, just like it happened to you, like it happened to us. that there's something more, that we're not just matter, but how do you feel about things globally? What's happening right now?
Well, from the things I see and read, it seems like we're going through some kind of transition.
Well, just in such circles as they say, and that's exactly what we see, that people are waking up more and more. But maybe we'll be in such a community, you know, for example, when we go to seminars in London, for instance, the last one we attended was with Dr. Lipton. The energy is just incredible.
But even on a personal level, I feel that I need, for example, every night now before I visualize, just to send love to the whole planet to something or whatever it is. Meaning if some conflict has happened and it's a signal to you, just to send love without thinking about anything in a negative way. Love to everyone.
Yes, you wish.
Somehow, I don't know if this energy really awakens and we just move on. People become more mature, that is, the spirit awakens.
Actually, that exact experiment was done in New York.
Which experiment?
In New York, in one of those.
Exactly, in New York, yes.
I can't recall exactly, but it's described that some neighborhoods, maybe the Bronx, had very high crime rates.
Crime rate, and they decide there for a certain period of time. Every night they meditate and send exactly that kind of love, you know, towards. Then they suddenly realize how it drops quickly.
The crime statistics.
Of crime, which absolutely, as I said earlier, you know, what would happen if all people really became more smiling, positive, and wished well for others? I always tell the children, I say, what you do to others will be done to you as well. Or do to others, you know, what you want, you know, to come back to you.
I want to say something. Think about it. If everyone, for example, just smiled at someone or said a kind word, how does that thing spread afterwards? So that person improves their mood, let's say.
Yes, positive energy is contagious.
It's contagious. So how will this thing starts to go around the planet and happens? Don't we want to live in a better society? And I see it in the vibe. I see it, for example, in England, I see it, and people are more concerned about each other. They are more empathetic, they think about society and about you as a neighbor.
For example, I recall telling my friends years ago, for example, let's say exactly these things, because even back then, things had already started working out for us. Our wishes were starting to come true, you know, and I would say, oh, look, you know, here, you know, we read about it, you know, we're applying these things and this thing.
See how interesting it is, yes.
They asked how long it took me, and I said 2 or 3 years. They replied, 2 or 3 years? I can't waste my time. And I sit and think, wait a minute, what are 2 or 3 years compared to making your dreams come true?
You can do it in 1 year if you have incredible energy.
If you really know, yes.
The physical world surrounds us, and all our lives we've been told the biggest nonsense, which is obviously that trees supposedly don't grow on... Our money grows on trees, and that's the biggest lie. You'll plant 2 apple or cherry trees, for example. Those cherries are worth money later. That's why at home there's a golden tree from China. And we teach the children.
Kids, money grows on trees.
Money grows on trees, on the trees. Every one of your ideas or anything you do creates opportunities and money. So don't listen at all when they say we're limited.
We believe abundance surrounds us and that we are abundance ourselves. We are born to abundance. It is our natural right. Even in Dr. Joseph Murphy's, I think it's his book. The thought, my thought, magic for wealth, something like that. That's how it begins. Poverty is a mental illness. That's exactly how he says it. Which must be eradicated. That's his starting point. That really shook me. Because everyone still has those wrong beliefs about not being enough, that it won't be enough. For example, now you and I want to, let's say both of us set up an apple stand. All right, but for example, you...
Start.
Now Svetleto's stall, she'll probably sell more apples than me now. Now there's competition here. The moment you start thinking about it, you automatically, because you think I'm more abundant than you, you're sending energy to me, and I really will sell more. And you really won't have any. Because actually, that's exactly the limitation. The limitation is that there isn't one.
Of the thought.
Of lacking, of insufficiency. Literally, I will, and it's not my fault that you didn't sell your apples.
Yes, very good clarification. Because we often shift
People very often blame this person or that person.
The responsibility for the thoughts.
My mother, my father, my grandmother. In the end, everything depends on you. We have the free will to act.
You don't like your boss. Change your job. You don't like the product. Create a product. You'll make people happy. Everything is a person should live more. Maybe that's not even the mission or the goal of people here. In whatever field it is, because you see people whose 95% of their day is the same. Just do something different. Dream and experience life to its fullest.
Absolutely. I would also add, be grateful, because sometimes people get distracted. At least I get distracted. And for example, now I'm thinking while listening to you, so many people have passed through me, through us. And today I'm thinking, look how beautiful it is to be able to be free to do what you love, not to be limited by times or by resources, by what's happening outside right now is it Wednesday today or what? Just to be able to talk freely without someone telling you how you should or shouldn't, and to feel happy.
I really like to observe people, to ask them about their desires.
It's interesting because I tell myself, look how the divine has manifested through this person. I really like it.
Very colorful because it's super different for everyone. That's the great beauty. If describe it in a single sentence, a message to everyone, each person individually, what would that sentence be?
People should take an action to fulfill all their dreams. Yes, not to be limited.
Restricted?
Don't think in limits. Believe anything is possible and just go for it. Pursue, because by achieving the dream, we achieve ours. We are one.
Yes, even when it's hard to see us. Because, for example, with us, we didn't see it. I mean, you don't know. You keep dreaming and visualizing. But in reality, there is no, I mean, how can I put it? Nothing guarantees that it will happen that way. But it's exactly that faith.
The certainty that this thing will happen.
Maybe the faith.
And most of all, don't take life too seriously. We're here to have fun together.
And I think that, and actually that's exactly what Dr. Wayne Dyer is. One of the things I really like, he says, Wichita, when you change the way you look at things, things change. And that's absolutely true. Really? I've tried it many times, and I keep doing it all the time, you know. But what I would like to say to people is, subscribe. That God, absolutely, like, and yes, he says they can achieve anything they desire, but they must believe in themselves.
And focus.
Iron focus. If you want to achieve your dreams, at least for us, that's what worked. The faith, the desire, and then the focus.
Svetle Des, my respect and thank you for what we created. Thank you for coming. Thank you for agreeing and for being so open. And open to talk about all these things that deeply concern us, that deeply concern you. I believe everyone watching right now has also felt connected and reached by this moment. It was a pleasure for me. Truly a unique format. People will agree we've never done anything like this before. I've always cared about the background, about how things look, but a lot of things are changing. And I'm very happy that the first episode changed in this way was with you. I found it very interesting, and I would be glad to meet again like this.
Of course.
We thank you for the opportunity,
For the invitation.
and if we have been helpful,
Yes, that's most important. To be helpful if possible.
sincere thanks.
To inspire hope and create change in people. With great pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.